Hey, what's up, guys? I've been getting a lot of messages asking how to buy Bitcoin. So I thought I'd fire off this video. This is in no way a total extensive list on all of the security measures you can take. It is always risky to buy, store, transfer Bitcoin. So just be aware of that. Always do your own research. and I do suggest you look further into this, but this is kind of the minimum steps you should take, in my opinion, before buying Bitcoin. And this is in no way the only way to buy it. This is just one of the ways to buy it. So this video is for you guys. If you haven't already, the least you can do, please subscribe to the channel, hit like on the video. And I'm going to see if I can figure out a way to put a little donation link in the video. This stuff takes me a lot of time. I've done a lot of research and takes me time to make these videos. So I'd really appreciate a small donation if you guys are able to do that. Helps me to continue to make these videos and get this information out there. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So some of the key steps in buying Bitcoin are: number one, getting registered for the exchange. So you're going to have to do your own research. I don't want to make any recommendations about the exchange you use. The exchanges have always been the weakest link, as they are a centralized point of attack. They're unregulated banks essentially. So you are taking a risk with having your money in there. Knock on wood, I have been lucky and haven't had any troubles with the exchanges I've used so far, but I have known people who have lost a lot of money in exchange hacks, etc. So do your own research, find out what people are saying, what the best exchanges are to use. I'm not going to make any recommendations because of liability reasons, but once you choose your exchange, look into the details. So they will have limits as to how much fiat, that is government currencies, you can deposit and withdraw. That's often overlooked by people. So they'll choose an exchange where they can buy with their credit card, but they don't look at the details and find out there's no way to actually sell their Bitcoin if they decide they want to sell and get their money back out in their local currency. So another thing is make sure the exchange has the trading pair between the currency you're using. So if you're using US dollars, I'm sure they accept US dollars, but if you're using a smaller country's currency like Canadian dollars, not all exchanges will accept Canadian dollars. So that's something to be aware of. And then once you are kind of sure about the exchange you want to use, you've done your research and all that, go ahead and register for the exchange. When you register for the exchange, there's going to be a step in there where you can back up your account with what's called a master key or a backup phrase. So you want to make sure you do that, and you want to write it down on a piece of paper. You want to make sure that there's no way somebody else can see that information, because if they did, they would have full access to your account. And if that has money in it, you could lose all of your money. So write down that passphrase. This is in case you lose your password or you something like that where you can't get access to the exchange, then this passphrase or this backup phrase is a way that you have a redundant backup to gain access to that account. So make sure you do that. And then once you do that, you're going to want to learn about two-factor authentication, often abbreviated just by 2FA. So this is an added security feature. I recommend putting it on all your online accounts, definitely enabling it at a very minimum on the exchange you're using. And I would definitely be putting it on my email and stuff like that, because hackers, once the word gets out that you're buying Bitcoin, you will have attempts to, people will try and hack your Bitcoin for sure. So learn about 2FA, and in order to do that, you're going to have to download a authentication application. So Google Authenticator is one example, and you want to download that onto your phone. And then when you do that, again, you're going to want to back up this authentication app with the master key or backup phrase. And this is in case you lose your phone, because if you lose your phone and it had the authenticator on it, then you don't have a way to gain access to your account. And the way 2FA works is basically if I'm signing into the exchange, I put in my normal password, and then it has one extra step where the authentication app is generating a new string of digits every 10 or 20 seconds. So basically, if a hacker was able to get your password, they could put it in and they would have full access to your account. But if you have two-factor authentication enabled, they would also need these string of digits that are being constantly regenerated on your phone. So it's just a redundancy where they would have to have access to your phone, and they would have to figure out your password all in one to get access to your account. So it really increases your security. It's highly recommended. And when you get that authentication app, be sure to write down the backup passphrase. I made this mistake and I lost access to my account for a long time, and it was during a market crash and it was very stressful. So I'm trying to save you guys time. I've lost tens of thousands of dollars learning the hard way with this stuff. So I'm trying to save you guys some time and money. So please keep that in mind, that I have learned the hard way, and that I'm trying to forge a path forward for other people who are looking to get into this. So learn about 2FA, get the authentication app, enable it on all your accounts, etc. And then once you do that, the next thing you're going to be doing is buying. So a lot of people wonder, do I go all in? Do I buy all at once? And what I've learned is a good way to do it is to what's called dollar cost average. That means just buying, say you have $10,000 that you want to buy in Bitcoin. You could just go in and spend it all right away, buy it at market value, and call it done. Sure, that's one way to do it. The downside with that is that if all of a sudden the price the next day drops 50% and Bitcoin only costs half the money, you're probably going to be kicking yourself. And I've made this mistake as well. So one way to do it is, if you decide your amount that you want to buy in with, you could just do it in little 20% increments, 10% increments. You could just buy a little bit every week, a little bit every month, every few days, whatever. So that's another way, because that way if the price goes down, then you have a little more money to buy in with. And if the price goes up, then at least you had bought some at the lower price and you weren't waiting on the sidelines for kind of the perfect buying opportunity. So that's kind of a nice, easy way to do it in the beginning, is to dollar cost average and to not go all in. And learn about limit orders. So I don't know if you're familiar with trading and buying with normal stocks, etc. But this is another big mistake I made where I lost a lot of money. And that is by just hitting the buy at market value. I'm not going to get into why that's can be a very bad, expensive mistake, but do your own research and learn about doing a limit order where you set the price that you're willing to buy at. Even if you're putting the price at spot price, what the current price is, make sure you put it as a limit, because if you put at buy at market, it will chase the price up while it's trying to fulfill all your orders. If you put buy 10 Bitcoin at market value and only one person's willing to sell at spot price, you think you're going to get all your Bitcoin at that price, but it'll keep moving up the order list in order to fulfill all those 10 Bitcoin, and you might end up paying 3 times as much for some of your Bitcoin. So that's something to be aware of. Learn about limit orders, etc. It will save you a lot of money and time. And then once you do that and you've bought your first bit of Bitcoin, you're going to be wanting to look at storage. So this is something you're actually going to want to consider before you even buy your first Bitcoin. If you're only buying a small amount, it's like, say it's an amount that you're comfortable holding in your normal wallet like you would with cash. Say it's $100. You're probably used to having $100 in your wallet, and you could lose that wallet. It wouldn't be the end of the world. Hopefully it wouldn't wipe you out. So if it's a smaller amount like that you're comfortable with, then yeah, you could just get a wallet on your phone. It is a little more risky, a little more vulnerable to being hacked. I've never had an issue, but again, you could lose your phone, you could misplace your backup phrase for that wallet. So again, anytime you're making a wallet, an account, or whatever, always make sure you're writing down this backup phrase, this passphrase, master key, goes has a few different names, and that's just a backup in case you do lose your phone or lose your password, etc. And then once you have that written down, treat that as if it's keys to your bank. So if somebody gets a hold of that, they have full access to that wallet. So you might want to write it down, and then you could put it in a safety deposit box, something like that. Some people actually get it stamped in metal because, again, if you only have it written down in one place, say it's at your house, the house catches fire, boom, everything's gone. So it's something to be thinking about. And there's no customer service with Bitcoin. This is, you have to do your own research, and really you're taking matters into your own hands. So there is a lot of risk. You need to learn about all of this security stuff and ways to basically protect yourself against expensive mistakes or hacks, etc. So the other thing is, if it's a larger amount, say it's like half of the entire amount of wealth you have that you want to put into Bitcoin, then you're probably going to want to consider a little added security. You're probably not going to want to carry around, say, $500,000 on your cell phone. So if that is the case, you want to look at getting a hardware wallet. So Trezor is one. You can do your own research with this stuff, and Ledger is the other one. And so you can order one of these devices. It'll take a week or two probably to get to your house. So this is something else to look at kind of beforehand, so that you already have it at your house once you're ready to buy Bitcoin. So once you get this, I would only suggest buying those hardware devices from the actual site. Never buy these from eBay or online or used, because you're just setting yourself up for a hack. You want to get it right from the company itself. You want to make sure it has the seal on it, that it hasn't been opened, all of that, to ensure that you're not getting hacked. So that's something to consider. And then once you have your hardware wallet, you can go ahead and go onto the exchange. You can buy your Bitcoin. And again, if it's only a smaller amount, another way to do it is just to store it on the exchange itself. You just have to realize that basically that's like holding your money in a bank. And these exchanges are not regulated yet. I believe there's one or two that are starting to become registered as actual banks, and they're more regulated, etc. But most of these are unregulated banks in a way, so it's a lot more risky to hold your money on there. And you will have to hold your money on there if you are planning to buy, to sell, etc. Every time you move Bitcoin around, it does cost you money. So if you're going from the exchange and you're moving it to cold storage, and let me just elaborate for a second on what cold storage is. Cold storage, these hardware wallets, what it is basically a glorified USB stick. So you plug it into your computer, you transfer your Bitcoin over, you unplug it from the computer. Now it's what's called air gapped, and it's not vulnerable to hacks from the internet because it's not actually connected to the internet. If the Bitcoin is on your phone, or the Bitcoin is on your computer, etc., or on the exchange, then it is accessible via the internet if somebody manages to get past the security measures that these wallets have in place. So that's something to consider. So once you have this hardware wallet, you've bought your Bitcoin on the exchange. If it's a large amount and you want to be extra safe with it, then you're going to want to transfer it onto your hardware wallet. And to do that, basically, you'll have to go to the website and learn a little more about that. But the basis of it is plug in the thing and plug in your device and log into your exchange, and then exchange it to the wallet address that you will create on this hardware wallet. So whenever you're transferring cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, etc., you're going to get a long string of letters and numbers. And when you put that in and you say, I want to exchange one Bitcoin from this exchange, this wallet, and I want to transfer it to my hardware wallet, which has this address, this string of numbers. So when you do that, you want to be very cautious. You want to always be double checking every single one of those letters and numbers, because if you make a small mistake there, you will transfer your Bitcoin to somebody else's address and it'll be gone forever, and there's no way to retrieve that. So this is a very crucial step. You want to be very careful here. And you might even want to be careful just with the copy and paste. There is some pretty elaborate hacks where they'll get some malware or whatever into your computer, and at the last minute it will flip the last digit or something in that string of numbers, and you'll glance at it, it will look like the right string of numbers, but as soon as you hit transfer, you'll notice maybe at the last minute that one or two of the digits were changed, and somebody else created a new wallet, and you've sent your Bitcoin to some hacker who's now very happy. So this is all stuff to pay attention to be very careful of. And that, again, if you're keeping your Bitcoin on the exchange, it depends on the exchange, its reputation, how big it is, how much liquidity it has, etc. But there is some risk involved there. There have been some major hacks to Bitcoin exchanges. That's really the biggest hacks have been on the exchanges. I've known somebody who's lost over $1 million getting hacked on the exchange. So that has always been the weakest link. So you are taking risk. However, if it's only $100, $200, and that's not a large amount for you, or if it's some smaller amount that you're not that concerned with, that won't cripple you if it's lost, then maybe you would consider just keeping it on the exchange itself. The benefit of that is that if we start having a market crash and you want to try and sell and get your money back into government currencies, then it's very quick to do that. If you've already transferred it into cold storage, then basically if you decide to sell, you have to that added step of transferring it from cold storage back to the exchange, which can take up to a day. I've even seen it take 2 days when the network is really busy. So it has the benefit of you can't panic sell, but it also has the downside of if you want to sell in a hurry, you could be stuck waiting for that Bitcoin to transfer onto the exchange for quite some time. So those are some of the things that I wanted to point out with buying, selling, storing, transferring Bitcoin. I'm just going to glance at my notes here because it is a pretty involved thing. So I think that's just about it. Another thing is once you start doing a lot of this, whenever you make a password, you don't just want to make it the year your brother was born. That's pretty easy for hackers to find out, and you want to make your passwords a little better than that. So what I would recommend is learning how to use a password generator, a password manager. So you can, Mac has them built in. If you have a Mac computer, you can use keychain access. But if you're using Windows or another kind of operating system, you can just do your own research, find out what other people are using, and use a password generator. So instead of picking your own password, go into the generator, drag the difficulty to max, and use a big long password that there's no way you'll ever remember. The less likely that you are to remember it, the less likely you are to get hacked. So my passwords are 30, 40, 50 characters long. You don't want to have little short, easy to remember things. Use a password generator, generate big, long, hard passwords, store it in the password generator, and then basically all you have to do is remember one password that gives you access to this password generator. And then every time you go to log in, you can go into the account that you're logging into in your password generator manager and basically retrieve your password from there. So one thing to be cautious of when you're doing that is you're using the copy and paste function. So if you copy it and then you go and you paste it in the exchange to log in, one thing you're going to want to do is make sure you delete the clipboard, or you go and you copy some other text right after that, so that if somebody got a hold of your computer, that you don't have the risk of that password still being stored on the clipboard. So that's just another little added thing that you want to be careful of. And then, like I said, use the two-factor authentication. So basically what you'll be doing is you'll be logging in with your long string of password that you generated. So you put that in, and then it'll ask you for your 2FA. So to do that, you're going to pull up your authentication app, and you'll have the account that you link to the exchange or whatever account you're trying to log into, whether it's email or Facebook or whatever. You link the accounts, and you can do that under the two-factor authentication settings in these programs or web pages or whatever, Facebook, whatever it might be, or the exchange itself. So you link the accounts, and then you'll see the account name. So it'll show you the exchange name, and you'll see that there's this string of numbers that's regenerating every 10 to 20 seconds. So you have to put in your main password, then you also have to put in the password from the authentication app, and then boom, you put that in, you hit login, and then you should be able to log in and get access to your account. So those are just some of the basics. I know this all sounds very complicated. That's why I thought I'd make a video. I recommend going over it a number of times, slowing it down, pausing, writing this stuff down, really familiarizing yourself with this whole process. And this is not to be taken as an extensive list or any kind of advice. This is strictly just some of the things to consider. Do your own research. I'm not making any recommendations here. I don't recommend this is the exact way you buy it. There are other ways to buy it, to store it, etc. But this is one way which you could do it. Just realize that it is a complicated thing, that you're going to want to step up your security, become a little more mindful of how you're using passwords, logging in, all of that kind of stuff. And hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you guys are on the path to acquiring your first bit of Bitcoin. It's very exciting. It's a very interesting path of liberation and learning about finance and technology and all of that. So I wish you guys all the very best. I hope you guys enjoy your own personal journey down the crypto wormhole, and that you guys are all on your own way to creating wealth and abundance in your own life. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and I will see you in the next one.